What's good in the hood, YouTube? This is Crazy Star, so I want to bring another video. Today I'm bringing you a video actually from my home. It's been a while since I've been here, obviously, but this is awesome because episode 20 came out. I'm able to actually view this the day it comes out because I actually have a TV that I can access everything. It's all good and life is good. So, final episode of Dino Supercharged has finally come out. The Dino Charge / Dino Supercharged series is now over. But let's go into the description and let's go into what happened during this episode. Episode 20. Episode is called End of Extinction. Pretty awesome episode, and it was a good episode to end the season off of. I knew the description already beforehand, but it was good to see it in actuality and see what they really did with it. So let's go into it. So what happens is the episode starts off with the Rangers, continuing off where they left off with having to go back to the base. Fury is attacking. He's trying to find a Dark Energy Gem. Obviously the Rangers have found it already, and it kind of continues off a little bit before that just to give you that kind of information. So then what happens is they head back to the base. You see that there are Vivixes attacking the museum. You see that all this is going on. The Rangers have to fight the Vivixes, and you have all these Rangers plus Heckle going back trying to defend, to help with Keeper, and eventually they end up making Fury retreat. At that point, what happens is that since they were found out as going to the museum and all that, and since they were able to go there, at that point, so it's just like, it's no big deal. The eggs weren't just made for the purposes of creating the Greenzillas. And that's the thing. They weren't just made for the Greenzillas. Those eggs were also made as a way to anchor to create roots in the earth that would anchor down and be used for them to drag the earth into, away from the earth's gravitational pull and lead it to becoming scrap. Something that they could sell or get rid of or whatever you want to call it, but basically just disorient the world and eventually just freeze the world, because that's what would happen. It would leave the sun's orbit and eventually go from being living beings to being frozen over dead beings. Anyway, all this happens, and then suddenly when that is going on, the Rangers are like, what can we do? So at that point, they're like, okay, we have to use it. Like, they end up discussing that even with all the stuff that they did to Snide, the Dark Energy Gem still survived. And the thing was is that they realized that the Dark Energy Gem is made of pure darkness. So the thing is, they thought of it as that maybe if it had pure light, they would be able to destroy it. So what happened is they end up getting the Plesiozord and the Terrazord, and they end up making them fly up into space. And they end up going in there. Heckle is surprised to see what it looks like from the inside of the cockpit of a Zord. He's beyond surprised. You also have Keeper in the other cockpit, but you have all of them, all 12 of those characters, all in two different cockpits. So 6 on one, 6 on the other, I believe it is. Could be mistaken. I think it's 6. Yeah, I think it's like 5 and 7. Whatever. Anyway, it's 6 and 6. What happens is that they end up having to speak to the Earth all around the world, basically saying, we need you all to do us a favor in the next 20 minutes. And what happens is they all end up scrambling to go do that favor. What that favor is to go get their biggest, nicest mirrors and shine them up into the sky after 20 minutes. Why mirrors? Mirrors reflect light. Light is bright. Pure light. Key idea there. You get it? So what the entire idea is that after 20 minutes, everyone has scrambled to get their mirrors. And you also, not only is it just like, oh, it's just random people. No, there's Zach, the one that looks exactly like Ivan. There's Shelby's father. There's Riley's brother. Those three you end up seeing are part of the crowd, because obviously they have to reference some characters that have been appearing in the past. Although Zach obviously only appeared fairly recently. Shelby's father appeared in the very beginning of Dino Supercharge, and Riley's brother appeared in Dino Supercharge and the original show. So it is interesting. So they all end up doing that. And this ends up allowing them to destroy the Dark Energy Gem, which is attached to a satellite that ends up destroying that, and then it ends up forming a a dark hole. The dark hole ends up sucking in Sledge, and it ends up sucking in the Earth. At that point, what happens is that you have the Rangers in their Zords, and they're also about to be sucked. But the thing is that since they destroyed the Dark Energy, they're able to unlock the true power of their Energems, which is the power to time travel. At that point, Heckle, teleports into space, has the 10 Energems in a circular formation, and ends up explaining this to them. At that point, they end up traveling back in time. When they travel back in time, they travel back in time to the time of the dinosaurs. Once there, this is back exactly when Keeper had first landed on Earth to disperse the Energems to the dinosaurs themselves. So what happens is that the Rangers are there. You have 5 of them at this point. You have Coda, you have Shelby, you have Ivan, you have Riley, and you have Chase. All 5 of those Rangers are there, and the thing is that Keeper ends up seeing the Rangers and is like, "Who are you? Prove to me that you are someone that I can trust. So prove to me that you are truly Power Rangers." So then they end up trying to call for their Energems. Their Energems come to them, all 5 of them, and so he's like, "Oh, okay, I do trust you now," because only the ones that have bonded to them are able to actually do that. So at that point, what happens is that you end up seeing that happen. Also up in space, you see Sledge and Fury and all of them up there, surprised to see that things worked out. Surprised to see them and are like, "Wait, who are they? Since when have they been there?" And they probably just saw Keeper fly down there. They were all surprised because they had no idea who they were. So what happens is that eventually they realize they have to go down to Earth. They end up going down there and trying to attack the Rangers. And the thing is, they end up figuring out, Power Rangers, what are they doing here? It's really just like Sledge and Fury that go down there pretty much. So at that point, they end up going down there, trying to fight, and they're confused exactly as to where the other Rangers have gone, obviously. But eventually what happens is that they're fighting, and all that's going on, and then Fury ends up grabbing the box that contained the Energems in it. And the thing is that Fury says to Sledge, "I got the box that has the other 5 Energems." So then Sledge and Fury are looking at the box. Turns out what's inside the box is actually a bomb, like it had been in the past. The bomb explodes. Fury gets destroyed, which then makes Ivan really happy because that means that his captor had been destroyed finally. So he was relieved to know that had finally been accomplished. Obviously, it's different from Japan, where the captor was destroyed early on, like a few episodes after he was put back onto Earth, he was destroyed. So it's a little different. Anyway, what happens is that from there, all this is going on, and then Sledge is like, "I bet you've never seen what I'm gonna do next." And they're like, "What? Magna Beam?" And then he's like saying, "Magna Beam, wait, what?" And so it was just sort of like, and I'm not even joking, like what I just said right there is exactly what happened. It was just like, "Magna Beam, wait, what?" Like he just had no idea, didn't see that coming at all. So suddenly he gets big, Sledge gets giant. At that point, the Rangers end up having to dodge. And by the way, the reason why that bomb was even there was because Tyler showed up. And Tyler uses Dino supercharged mode. And also just in general, he ends up saying that they have a plan. They're doing it up in space. So then at that point, you end up seeing the other Rangers. Even Heckle. Even, all the other Rangers and Heckle are dealing with this. So then what happens is that they end up, putting Poisandra into a jail cell, and then they end up setting up the planet to head in the direction of, setting the direction of the sun. Also, they end up attaching the grappling hook onto Sledge, which ends up dragging him into space along with the ship. And eventually, it's set for the sun. The Rangers escape. The other Rangers escape from their ship back onto Earth, which at that time is still prehistoric, and they end up speaking to Keeper. Keeper says, "Thank you for what you've done," and then he ends up saying to the Ranger, he ends up saying to Coda and Ivan, "You can go back to your times now. Ivan, you can go back to the time of the Knights of Xandar, and Coda, you can go back to the time that your brother was still alive." And the other Rangers are like, "Better to be home," and they all give him a hug. There's a huge hug for all of them, and they're all being super nice. And at that point, the two of them go back to their time periods, and then the others have to go back to theirs. But then what happens is that Zeonwing, Heckle, and Keeper stay over. What happens is that Keeper explains to Heckle, "I want you to go back to your time with Zeonwing, and I think that you should try to." He's going to help you try to keep your planet alive and leave it so that Sentai 6 will still remain and it won't be destroyed. And so what happens is that he says, "I will now bestow upon you this," so that you will not lose the Dark Energy. So what happens is that he says, "I will now bestow upon you this robe, which will make you the keeper of the Dark Energy." Yes, he becomes the keeper of the Dark Energy. Pretty amazing. The idea is that he must guard with all his life to prevent anyone from ever using it for evil purposes. So at that point, Zeonwing Zeonwing and Heckle go back to Sentai 6, end up trying to protect it and act as Sentai 6's savior and also protector of the Dark Energy. So what's going on? And Keeper, says, "I will see you Rangers in the future," of course. All this happens, but then we end up seeing that the Rangers are back in their time period. Riley's brother even texts him saying like everything's good or whatever. Suddenly what happens is they end up going to the museum because they end up getting a distress call, and then finding out the distress call is something that they didn't expect. You have to remember something. Sledge is the reason why the dinosaurs got extinct. But the thing is that Sledge got destroyed before the dinosaurs got extinct. So what happened was the dinosaurs never got extinct. So the emergency was having to do with a living, breathing Triceratops, because now the museum is called the Amber Beach, not museum, Amber Beach. Rather than being called Amber Beach Dinosaur Museum, it's called the Amber Beach Dinosaur Zoo. Yes, zoo. So they actually have to work with living dinosaurs, and they're all surprised, and they all can't believe it. And so suddenly they're all rejoicing. The other thing is that they mention the whole entire aspects of Chase also mentions how he's gonna meet with his mother. He's gonna do a lot of stuff with his girlfriend, and Tyler's gonna go on adventures with his father, and Shelby's gonna still study dinosaurs. But all this is going on, and it's a sweet episode, and that's a new adventure. The new adventure is dealing with living, breathing dinosaurs. So pretty awesome, pretty crazy episode. Good stuff overall. This is a really exciting, and I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to Ninja Steel. The Ninja Steel toys came out just yesterday, the day before the final episode came out. So clearly you can tell that a lot of people are already jumping on that wagon of buying that merchandise and are already hyped up for Ninja Steel. I'm hyped up for Ninja Steel. I want to see what they do. I'm happy to see the season go, but at the same time, I think that yes, it wasn't the best season ever, but it was definitely a good season, and I think that a lot of people, yes, Dino Charge was great. Dino Supercharge wasn't bad, but it definitely didn't do as well as Dino Charge was able to do. I will say this much right now. Wasn't the greatest season, but it was a good season, and it definitely should receive a lot more credit than it got. Not saying it's perfect by any means. It's not, but it's definitely a decent season that you can say has been okay. There's when it does things really well, it does things really well. It's not it's a crapshoot. It's not like it's garbage. It's not like it's garbage. It's a good season. So next video, which will probably come out along with this video, will be a final thoughts for Dino Supercharged. I did a final thoughts for Dino Charge last year. This will be one that will cover my thoughts on Dino Supercharge as a whole, going over the characters, going over their development, going over the villains, going over anything that happened that was worthwhile in this season, and even some overlap with this and the previous season, but mainly focusing on the current season at hand because that's really where it's the focus. But there is some leaning just because of the fact that like you have to go back and see like how far they've gone from Dino Charge to Dino Supercharge and see how things have progressed with them as characters and all that other stuff. So anyway, that's about it for me, guys. Please like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you guys think of this episode. Did you guys enjoy it? Are you guys looking forward to Ninja Steel now? Are you excited for it? Also, have you guys found any of the new merchandise that's come out just as of late now? So I would love to know what your guys' opinions are of all this, and are you guys excited for Ninja Steel again? Like, comment, subscribe, check out my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Also, hit me up on, anywhere else, and I'll see you guys next time. So until then, guys, So until then, guys, I'm Crazy Samurai 71. Bye-bye, guys.